Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sulky Show. Here we are on July the 3rd, Friday, July the 3rd, and we are on the eve of not just the Epsom Derby, but we are on the eve of the start of the British Harness Racing season 2020. We've finally got there. A lot of uncertainty over the last few months. We were thinking back in April there would be no harness racing in 2020, but a lot of people have kept the faith, and here we are now. We are on the verge of the start of the season, and we have got a wonderful curtain raiser at York on Saturday afternoon. All starts at 2 o'clock, 9-race bonanza at York. Sarah, we're finally there. The season is about to start.
At last. Yeah, this is where we should have been probably at the start of May. Obviously, things have been out of our control. I'm glad we've got to this point. I think for some people, they thought maybe we'd never get to this point, but we are at this point. We've had the 3 weeks of qualifiers at York, and we are now ready to race.
Yes, we've had 3 weeks of qualifiers at York, and we will be covering all the races tomorrow afternoon from York on the pay-per-view platform. There's been an awful lot of work has been done behind the scenes on the pay-per-view. And all things being equal, everything crossed, it will work tomorrow afternoon. There will be more details on Friday evening regarding the link to the pay-per-view coverage for the York meeting. But we have got a spectacular meeting. There are a number of qualifiers before racing. They're being staged between midday and 1. The first race is at 2. But an important message now, please use the pay-per-view to watch the racing, because this racing at the moment is still behind closed doors. Don't just rock up to York tomorrow afternoon expecting to enter the track. All those attending by now should have registered their intentions at the BHRC office, registered all the attendees' names at the BHRC office. It's trainers, drivers, grooms, and for the first time, we didn't do it for the qualifiers, but as of tomorrow, one owner and guest per horse. So it's great news. We've got the owners going racing on Saturday afternoon. But as I say, please don't just rock up expecting to get in, because I'm afraid you won't at this stage. We have to, of course, adhere to government guidelines and restrictions. So, 9 races tomorrow, Sarah. Really good competitive card. Many thanks to all the owners, trainers, for getting involved, for embracing the first meeting, and to Craig Stevenson and Mickey Welling at York. Really is a competitive programme tomorrow.
Yeah, there's some races that are, for me, based on horses that raced last year, and also from what we've seen in qualifiers the last 3 weeks, there's some races that are very, very difficult to pick out 1 or 2, even 3 horses you could fancy, because there could be 5, 6 in the race that have got a really, really live chance. I think it'll just come down. Obviously, we've got the draw in advance this year for the first time at York. Gives us a chance to see who's got those best gate positions, how a race maybe will pan out in advance. But some of them are so wide open that it's just going to come down to what happens on the day. Traffic problems and just the luck of the way a race pans out. So I'm looking forward to it in that regard. There's certainly some races that maybe there are horses that stand out based on last year's form. But I'm looking at race 1 at the moment now. And to me, race 1 is wide open. Quite a few of these horses we've seen in the qualifiers at York in the last couple of weeks. Brave Warrior was a horse that looked nice in the qualifiers. Probably inexperienced. I think it was only 1 qualifying run the horse actually went in. Obviously, is a maiden, hasn't raced before either, so comes into the race, a little green. Nice draw, obviously, drawn 1. I assume it's drawn 1, actually. I've just said that out loud with great confidence, but I haven't written down Craig's draws for the races that actually had draws on them, which is probably very, very bad research in advance.
Well, to be honest with you, what my understanding is that what you see on the race card is the draw. They are drawn in race card order.
There we go. So for anybody who's in the same position as me there, reading the start sheet and not sure. Listen, at the beginning of the week, that was the plan, that they would appear in that order on the race card. Well, so I'm going with that. I'll go with that. I did watch Craig's live draw on Facebook earlier in the week, but didn't write it down at the time because in terms of what I do on a Saturday afternoon at York is, as long as I know who's on what horse and who I'm taking pictures of, it doesn't really make a huge deal of difference to me at the time what the draws are. Probably in light of us launching the Sulky show, maybe should have done a little bit more research. But Brave Warrior for me was a horse that I thought looked nice in qualifiers. Indiana's Dream, we saw racing last season. There's a couple of others. She's treacherous. We've seen before. Action Jackson is a horse that I really like. If anybody follows me on Facebook and my photography page, Action Jackson, I've got quite a few photos of him on my photography page as a skew board. I thought went quite nicely in quite a few of the qualifiers and improved, came down the clock in time a little bit as well. So was sort of looked to be on the improve in terms of fitness. Doesn't come into the race with a great deal of form behind him. American Rogue was a horse that I saw qualify at York last year on sale day. So to me, it's wide open. I've named a handful of horses there. I wouldn't commit to anything. I'm not a betting person, but I wouldn't commit to any particular horse in the race. If you were going to push me, I would maybe say, I mean, it's a big ask for a horse that's never raced before, but I would maybe say Brave Warrior in the shake-up. I like the look of the horse, so I'd maybe go with Brave Warrior. Bold selection in race 1.
If the workouts and qualifiers for anything to go by from the last few weeks, there are some nice young horses in town for this year's action. Race 2, another maiden race as well. And what are your thoughts in this race? Anything against the field?
Again, there's a couple of horses here that have looked quite nice in the qualifiers. Like you said, horses that we've seen before, just kind of, working out more than anything, and also horses that have kind of first time out. And another horse that from the Haythornthwaite stable, Rogue Warrior, was another horse that I thought looked quite nice in the qualifiers. Again, comes into this very, very inexperienced. You have got some slightly more experienced horses like Conor McGregor, who I think was second at York last season, back end of last season. Actually, I think was beaten by his stablemate, trained by Chris Heaton, and the two of them finished 1 and 2. Couldn't fit them both in the winner's circle for a photo. So Conor McGregor comes in with that little bit of experience. Reed's Firefly is a horse that's raced in stakes races, who comes in from those competitive stakes races, where she's has placed, steps back down into what you would call slightly easier company when you come into these sort of maiden events. Just has a bit of a bad draw with drawn 8, second line, kind of a lot of traffic in front of you. Dream Fair Duke, I need to mention, is a Scottish horse as well. I saw Dream Fair Duke racing at Corbywood last year. A little bit erratic behind the start card, but came to a qualifier at York and looked to have settled far better. Actually went very nicely in that qualifier, appeared to quite enjoy going around York. So Dream Fair Duke, as a horse to kind of keep an eye on as well. It's quite a wide open race. I would suggest, Lee Fletcher is capable, drawn 1 mistake side duel of leaving the gate quite quickly, based on some of his drives in the qualifiers. I wouldn't, again, I have to state this, I'm not a betting person. If I was a betting person, I still don't think I would be betting a horse in this race because I think it's quite competitive. Yeah,
and I can confirm they are in draw order on the race card. On to the first of the trot. I've got 2 trots tomorrow. The first one is called the Pre-4th of July, rather original. Happy Independence Day ahead of tomorrow for the Americans. 1.25 miles. And one thing about the Latrobe races this year, no whips to be used in these races. So this is the lower division. Now we have seen some nice trotters on show, driven by Peter Mather over the last few weeks, and I think this is one of them, Elka Dupuy.
I was waiting for you to pronounce the name. Whilst Elka and do were quite straightforward words, I wasn't quite sure where to go with the last word. I didn't know, should I be saying pie?
Yes, again, making it up, trying to sound convincing.
No, but I have told you this before. I don't pronounce the names of French trotters until after I've heard you calling them in a race commentary, because I take my guidance from you. Whatever you say, I then roll with for the remainder of that horse's career in this country. So
that's the blind, is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on you to kind of go with something that sounds okay. I can't speak a word of French, and I can't even put the accent on to kind of even pronounce the names. But Elka Dupuy, is that what we're saying? Is that,
well, I was going to call it Puy, but anyway, go on. I don't mind.
Oh, I don't want to say it again now. Peter Mather's got
tomorrow.
Peter Mather's got a nice trotter in this race, so what I'm going to say. Went nicely in a qualifier. Most of the others we've actually, we have seen, because those who haven't raced here have had to qualify anyway. So I have seen every horse in this race. Virio de Regan for an aged campaigner. I thought looked nice in a qualifier a couple of weeks ago with Ryan Asquith driving, and one of the new drivers that's come in through the driving test at York the last couple of weeks. I thought Vero de Regan went very nicely for him. I actually think, you know, Ryan is a nice driver. His style of driving I quite liked in all of his tests. So I'd be looking at an older horse like him. Amadeo de Gelma is another horse with the new driver John Innes driving. He holds the unofficial record for the fastest driving test in British harness racing history after going 1:57 and 9 on a pacer, although on a pacer, not a trotter, because that would be something to really write home about. For me, the trots anything can happen. You've got new drivers in here, in addition to Ryan Asquith, who drives at Todd Villadon, and John Innes on Amadeo de Gelma. You've also got Edward Elliott on Velo Sparsh. So you've got new drivers who haven't got that race experience, and a field of 9 as well. For me, it's quite a wide open trot. But Peter Mather is an experienced driver and trainer. His horse looked good in the qualifiers, so I'd maybe be leaning towards Peter Mather myself if I was going to choose.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. And then on to a preferred pace. This is race 4.
Mm-hmm.
What would the shortlist material be for you in this race? I'm just having a quick look at it now, looking at the likes of Imperial Deal, Micklewoods Drive, Take Me to the Limit. Bearing in mind, remember, folks, 5 on the gate here at York.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Imperial Deal. For me, would be one to keep an eye on. And Take Me to the Limit. Take Me to the Limit, having raced in very good company through the stakes races. You know, finishing placed in quite a lot of those behind horses like Northern Pride, who is on later on in the card. I also quite like Star Attraction. Again, came through the stakes races that, last year. I think won the Sire Stakes at Corbywood, the 2-year-old Sire Stakes at Corbywood. So Star Attraction is a horse that you would expect to kind of step up from 2 to 3 and maybe find a bit more. I like Colford Jiggle. I like Little Colford Jiggle. It's something about the way that horse races. I shows a lot of determination, I think. But for me, I would probably be leaning towards kind of the 3 that we've mentioned: Imperial Deal, Star Attraction, and Take Me to the Limit. The horses. Camden Rocco deserves a mention because you know, Sean Michael Vary and Camden Rocco, they're always giving 100%. You know, as a duo together, they work very well. You know, it's a classic case of an older horse giving a younger driver experience. You know, on the racetrack. You know, in quite competitive company. Camden Rocco will give 100%, but whether he finds 1 or 2 slightly better tomorrow, we'll have to wait and see.
Race 5 sees another fabulous competitive race. Annie Vi, my principal horse to follow for the 2020 season,
yes,
making her seasonal debut.
Yeah, I think when we did the 5 to follow, I think I actually included Anna Vi in my 5 to follow as well. She's a horse that I've followed since she began racing, right from day 1 when she hit the track, just because of the kind of friendship I've got with her connections, Will Burton and John Jim Meekin. I like her. I feel like she's grown again now as a 4-year-old. I have seen her in some of the qualifiers. She has grown again, you know, in size and stature. You'd be looking for her to progress on from kind of season that she had last year, and really go well tomorrow. I would be hoping for anyway. There are good quality competition in this race. You look at horses like Lose My Mind, who I think will enjoy the bigger track. Is a horse that has won at Corbywood. Obviously, York is bigger than Corbywood, but Lose My Mind is a horse that has won on bigger grass tracks. And obviously coming down from Scotland as well, they've chosen not to wait a couple of weeks and race on their doorstep at Corbywood. You've got the likes of Special T in the race. You know, American Mistress was a horse that was running in good company. I think the American Mistress was actually second in one of the heats in Strata Florida Giaran last year, behind Air Empress, who went very well in the qualifier last week in the rain. So it's not so much of a wide open race for me here personally. I'm looking at Anivi, and I think it is more than of a competition as to who kind of finishes in the placings. Obviously, racing has different ideas very often, but Anivi for me, drawn 3 on the gate. I think she's a real strong choice for me in that race.
Yeah, that'll probably be my nap of the day. Second trot race, higher grade trot, mile and a quarter. Birdie Match. I was really impressed with Birdie Match when this one went round the other week in its qualifier.
Me too. Birdie Match was a horse that as soon as I laid eyes on him, there was something about the horse is a very, very good looking horse anyway. He's certainly got a lot of presence and he's an attractive horse. You know, he's easy on the eye. Which sounds like a weird thing to say, but as somebody who takes photos, he just had this presence about him in front of the camera, nicely gated, seemed to go very comfortably in his qualifier as well. He's dropped in into quite a competitive race here when you actually look at the sort of the horses we would recognise as having seen raced over the last couple of seasons. Your Fisher de Moems and your Caris de Criers, Emirat obviously as well. Blasson went very well in the qualifier 2 weeks ago at York, alongside his stablemate Diamant de Cadrel. So that for me, the draw doesn't quite make so much difference when they have got that slightly extended distance to race over. But for me, as a trot, it's an exciting race to watch. American Love, I thought, went quite well in the qualifier as well. A couple of weeks ago with Matty Quinn driving, he takes a drive again tomorrow. That's a good competitive trot there, as far as I'm concerned. Birdie Match has got a lot to do as a newcomer into that kind of company, I think, to win the race. And I would kind of, personally, I think I'd be leaning towards Blasson as a main protagonist, I think.
Worked out really well the other day, Blasson. I do think it's too sharp for Emirat in the bottom mile and a quarter, and from that starting position as well. Broadway de Bourg, we know he's capable on his day as well. But no, Birdie Match and Blasson both qualified stroke worked out really well at York recently.
Yeah, I do need to point out though, you're saying that you think it's a little sharp for Emirat in terms of the distance. We have had this conversation before he ran in a mile race at York, which he won. As a surprise to you all, you had us all led up the garden path that he was going to be too sharp a trip for him, but he said otherwise. Very versatile, but you could be right. You could be right on this occasion. It's difficult, but he's a first time out now. We have seen these horses in qualifiers and workouts, but first day out, it gives us. We'll be in a better position after tomorrow. This time tomorrow, we'll be in a better position for the following week to actually pass judgment on some of these horses, I think. So, but for me, this is a trot that I'm particularly looking forward to.
So back to the Pacers, the novice pace, coming up as race 7. Some nice sorts in this race. Nice 3 in this race.
Yeah, so obviously these horses have all won a race, one race lifetime. You've got a lot of horses here that are coming in from stakes racing. So these aren't horses that have just won one. They've raced once, won once, and they're dropping into a novice race with very little experience. You look back through, and a lot of these horses have raced, several times, and some of them in quite competitive stakes company as well. I liked Imperial DJ in a qualifier or a workout a couple of weeks ago. And Imperial DJ, I think, won a Tier Prince last year. Was quite impressive in that victory as well. So based on a performance like that, would come into this race, you would think quite strongly. But obviously the form has sort of dropped off after that. It could be that it's the first time out, early part of the season. This is where he kind of strikes really, really quick. Christy Camden is superbly well bred, but for me, I think possibly might struggle a little bit in this company. He's been a bit of a disappointment for me. I actually, when I met him as a 2-year-old, felt that there was a lot there to work with. He's never quite reached those heights, even in his previous stable. He has had issues, I think, before coming here, and maybe maybe this is it. This is the new kind of Christy Camden we're going to see, and he could really like the track of light. But for me, I'd be looking more towards Imperial DJ. Oakwood Ideal was quite impressive in a qualifier as well. If Oakwood Ideal can get away at the start, could be a difficult horse to catch. Imperial DJ or Oakwood Ideal for me, I think, in this one.
Race 8, preferred pace. Another open-looking race, and I see our old friends lining up for the first time in 2020. GD's Hazard.
Harry is back. And
with
Harry, because we're allowing owners in, with Harry comes Jerry.
Yeah, That's it.
We will hear Jerry. If Harry is in the mix come the finish, we will hear Jerry, and everybody watching the pay-per-view live stream across the UK will hear Jerry. So this is your warning. This is your, I don't know how many hours we are away from this race, but this is your warning to everybody watching the racing tomorrow on the pay-per-view. Listen out for Jerry and listen out for Harry. You'll hear. You'll know it when you hear it.
But we've got some established pacers in this race.
Yes, really, really quality horses, really solid race horses that have, the last season had, good seasons, finishing off the year, and then obviously you've had that break over Christmas. Javi's trainers got them bang ready, 100% fit and ready to go. This is where we find out tomorrow. Wellfield Warlock finished last season superbly. Won the C-Class race at Wolverhampton with owner Paddy Connors driving. Then went into the handicap race with Michael Omani driving. Got pulled 10 yards because of his win earlier in the day, and was second, and was a close second as well. So, the horse made twice around Wolverhampton is a pretty stiff ask, and the horse gave it all. And I think Wellfield Warlock possibly still has, more to give. The Lion King is a horse that has shown great ability over the last couple of seasons. Again, a winner at Wolverhampton. So those are two horses that you would say were kind of, they've probably got that stamina. Although York is a speed track, it's what you've got at the finish that kind of counts. Air Paparazzi is a horse that was coming into a little bit of form last year, won the heat and final at Stand Up Show. Look, there's GD's Hazard deserves a mention as well. Billy Wilk was the winner at Walsingham Show at the final there. This is a really good quality field. If you were going to make me pick, I would probably lean towards the Lion King, but I would be looking at GD's Hazard and Wellfield Warlock to probably be there at the finish as well.
Yes, it really is a competitive card. And then on to the last race, horse we've already mentioned in Dispatches, horse I think we've seen some great performances from already from this horse, but I still think there's even more to come. That's Northern Pride.
Yes. Wee Nigel. Yes. He's a horse that I really like. Where do you start? Where do you start with Wee Nigel? He seems to have everything. He has speed, he has stamina, he can go from the front, he can come past horses, he digs in at a finish. He's a horse that you would expect rising from 3 to 4 would find that extra, whatever, that age and experience and just general development with age, I think possibly could come to Northern Pride. But what I have to say is the quality of his competition is superb. I mentioned earlier Spring Hill Glory was the horse that John Innes sat his driving test on. I think it was, without double checking my notes from the qualifiers, I think it was 157, no, it was 159.7, not 157.9. No, it was 157.9, I'm sure. I don't know if I've got time to go back through my notes to see if I can find it from that particular meeting. It was a very, very quick workout, in which Newtown Jody, Spring Hill Glory, here we go. I was wrong. It was 157.7. That was the test that John Innes did on Spring Hill Glory. So Spring Hill Glory's already put in a very, very quick mile at York already this year, which shows that he is kind of back to the levels we've seen Spring Hill Glory at in the past. We've got the return of Mikey Camden, who has had a fantastic career. And he's been at some of the qualifiers at York and looked good, looked comfortable. Rockin' Mambo, who has been busy during the spring. He is due to become a father next year, all being well. Rockin' Mambo, has stallion duties during his downtime before he got back into.
And his biggest fan, Melanie Danbridge, will be watching on pay-per-view tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. So, and Rocky Mambo, he's a horse that finished the season last year winning at York, so it could be that he starts the season winning at York. But, drawn 10, very difficult. Again, you look at his quality that he's got to race against Merrington moving ups. Reed's Nightlife, I think she was third in the Stagby Broodmares, the Golden Girls final on sale day last year, which was won by Olivia Camden. Blackwell Tiana, there's horses in this race. The quality that's in this race is incredible. I don't know how you would pick a winner here. I think my heart would probably say We Nigel, Northern Pride, just because I feel like I borderline stalk him a little bit. But again, Rocky Mambo, Mountain moving up. Rob Hall, his return to racing as well. Rob Hall, who was the last time, well, before I saw him at the qualifier last week at York, the last time I saw him, he was upside down in a ditch getting lifted out by the fire service. So Rob Hall has done very well to get back to the track last week and re-qualify. So, and we've got Enter the Dragon coming in as well with Melanie Langford, who's come across from Wales and Border Counties. So it's a baptism of fire for Melanie. That's certainly the case.
We've got to wish Melanie, good luck tomorrow, and welcome on board. Welcome to the BHRC, and that message goes across to all those who have made the transition from Wales and Borders to BHRC this year. So, what was the selection after all that in the last race? I'm going for Wee Nigel anyway.
I have to go for Wee Nigel because he's Wee Nigel. I mean, if you can't pick a horse based on the fact that his stable name is Nigel, then when can you pick a horse?
So what's your nap on the meeting? What's your star selection on the meeting tomorrow?
It's going to be the same as yours.
Annie Vi?
Annie Vi.
Okay, right. If I was to do a treble, I'd go Birdie Match Race 6. So I've just upset one of my fellow owners of Devon. I go Annie Vi Race 5, Birdie Match Race 6, and Northern Pride Race 9. That's my treble for tomorrow.
Well, I'll tell you what then. I'll take the same 3 races as you. Oh,
right.
No, I won't. I'll tell you what I'll take my treble was going to be Annie Vi.
Yeah.
I'm going to go against you in the trot and take Blass on.
Right.
And I think I'm going to take the Lion King.
The Lion King. Right. Okay.
That's. I mean, there's nothing to be won between the two of us if this, happens. And I don't gamble, so it's not like I'm going to bet any of them. But we should. So
our plan, Sarah, is to have guests on this show.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So anybody who wants to come on next week to talk about next week's racing at York, let us know. Volunteers, very welcome. I don't want to have to keep chasing people for things. So if anybody wants to get involved and come have a chat about next week's cards, then let me know. Or let Darren know.
Let's get a plug in as well. I hope people have received the calendar. Good. I'd like to. It is a good read, even though I say myself, it is a good read. What do you think?
I mean, mine literally arrived today. Mine arrived this afternoon. I know what's in it because Julie Park sent the committee the kind of the draft layout and stuff. So I have read through most of the articles in it, but there's something about sitting down and opening it up as a booklet, not just reading it on a computer screen, actually sitting down. So, against what normally happens on a Friday night where I would have a large gin and tonic, I might make myself a cup of tea tonight and sit down and watch. Not watching anything. I might watch the replays from Port Marnock on Monday, actually. But no, I'll sit down with a cup of tea and I'll read through the calendar and maybe have a gin afterwards. 2 supplements as well. One on handicapping and one about the protocols. Important everyone reads that. Of course, we're welcoming owners tomorrow to York. And we have launched a new Twitter account today. BHRC have launched a new Twitter account. It's at British Harness. So get involved, follow us. We'll get the information out there, latest news, results, anything you want to know about British Harness Racing, we will get it on Twitter, at British Harness. And at 7 o'clock tonight, obviously people might be watching this at 11 o'clock, this show, so sometime on Friday night on Facebook, I will be conducting the draws for the Group 2 North Wales Standard Bred Championship races, all the various divisions. Those races will take place at Tier Prince a week on Tuesday. That's Tuesday afternoon. Off the top of my head, is it the 14th of July? Off the top of my head? 14th of July.
Yeah, first race 2 o'clock. Regarding next week's meeting at York, it's an afternoon meeting again. It's a 2 o'clock start. Racing at York, week tomorrow, July 11th. First race 2 o'clock, and then we move into the evening zone in 2 weeks' time. Meeting in 2 weeks' time is the first meeting to go live to the new betting, new bookmaker client, and we will be revealing the name of that client very shortly. Is that it? I probably forgot.
If you've not got anything else written down, I certainly have nothing written down, because I'm just winging it with my printout of my start sheet for tomorrow.
So pay-per-view, get involved. The links will be out tonight for the pay-per-view for York's meeting tomorrow.
Okay, I'm saying yes, that's good to know. I will be there tomorrow, so I will not be watching the pay-per-view.
And we're planning to conduct some interviews tomorrow in between races. Social interview.
Saying we before it was you.
Oh, okay, me. Okay, yeah. Social distancing interviews. So there will be a bit of content between races tomorrow. So yeah, so qualifiers midday through to 1. First race is at 2. Our main program on pay-per-view starts at 1:30. But again, that important message: this is behind closed doors. Don't just rock up, please, to York tomorrow. It's only for those of you who have registered at the BHRC this week. So we welcome owners tomorrow, trainers, drivers, and grooms. Otherwise, you can access the coverage on pay-per-view. And this is the first meeting that we have had on a regular basis at BHRC or in British Harness Racing with declared drivers. Thanks to everyone for cooperating this week. So the card that you see on the BHRC website, it includes the draw, as in the drawn in race card order, and all the driver information. And that's another point I want to make as well. There are no race cards for sale at the moment at any British Harness meetings due to the current COVID-19 situation. So please print off the cards tonight from the BHRC website. I think that's a wrap, Sarah.
I think that is a wrap. I think the first episode of the Sulky show has gone quite well. I would say we're going to open this up to suggestions as to what we're going to call this feature every week, but we've committed ourselves to the Sulky show, and therefore I will be creating a title screen that says the Sulky show. So I'm really sorry, everybody, you could not help us name this. We're just winging it now and going with the Sulky show. It's okay. All right. It works for me.
Right. So more from the Sulky show over the coming weeks, previews, reviews, and we'll have guests.
We will have.
Hopefully.
Right, well, there we go. So on that basis now then, it's over and out.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to sign off.
Yeah, well done. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.